I hate when multi-billion-dollar companies exploit and take advantage of artists. Wizards of the Coast is one of these companies. They treat their artists terribly, whether it's payment issues, whether it's restrictive contract terms, or whether it's the removal of their second market opportunities. There's a lot of important things we need to discuss here when it comes to freelance artists and working for these bigger companies. Just this week, Donato Gynecola came forward completely disgusted with his experience working on Magic the Gathering for Wizards of the Coast. Now, I respect this guy immensely, and I'd put him up there with all my favorite top-tier fantasy artists, whether we're talking about the Hildebrandt brothers, James Gurney, or Greg Rutkowski. This dude is a boss-level painter. He has worked professionally since 1996 and has over 117 Magic the Gathering cards under his belt. But fun fact, he actually stopped working for Wizards back in 2010 over these exploitatively low fee issues. But since then, he actually went back to do some more commissions from them 2017 to 2023, and he's now kind of quit them cold turkey. But before I get into Donato's specific issues with the company, let's briefly look at some of these historical facts when it comes to Wizards of the Coast and their parent company, Hasbro. Wizards of the Coast was founded in 1990 by Peter Adiskin, and it began as a small publisher of role-playing games, right? Its big breakthrough came in 93 with Magic the Gathering, the first collectible card game, and it revolutionized this industry. And then in 97, Wizards of the Coast acquired Dungeons & Dragons. That revitalized things further, and it was launching the successful 5th edition of their game in 2014. Hasbro acquired them now in 1999 and expanded Magic and D&D into digital and multimedia formats. And today, Wizards of the Coast remains a leading force in tabletop and fantasy gaming, driven by the enduring success of these core franchises. Now let's look at the pricing history that Magic the Gathering has paid artists over these decades, because it has certainly stagnated immensely. Because in 96, if you're an artist getting a job on one of these cards, you'd get paid $8,000. For the 90s, for an artist, I don't think that was bad at all. I wasn't working professionally back then, but that's certainly okay. Now fast forward to later that year in 2023, and they raised the price to $1,250 per standard card. That doesn't even account for inflation. Now, if you want to factor in inflation, the fee is actually far lower at $516 in relative dollar value in comparison. So that's not looking too good. That's pretty shameful, I'd say, when you're a big company like this. And a lot of Magic artists still work traditionally. So not only are you factoring in things like oil paints, canvases, their brushes, all of their materials, the labor costs, the props. A lot of artists, since they work at such a high level, a lot of them shoot, models for their references. A lot of them have very extensive wardrobes. All of these expenses certainly add up. Hello everyone, I need to take a brief moment because I'm thrilled to announce that Arnie Billen has joined the Brush Sauce Mentorship team. If you're looking for detailed, personalized guidance to elevate your art, whether through breakdowns, tailored assignments, or feedback in paintovers, head over to brushsauceacademy.com for more info. Join others like Mateo, who recently completed a term with us and through his hard work and landed his first industry gig right after. So let's just say a Magic the Gathering card takes 40 hours of labor to paint, which maybe in some cases it does, particularly if it's a simpler, landscape card. But I know some of these are very complex scenes. They could probably well go over that 40-hour mark. But let's use that as a baseline average. If you take the 1,250, right, and divide that by the 40 hours of labor, that actually only equals up to about $31 in US an hour. Now, if you factor out the taxes from that drops it lower to about $23 an hour. So you're making $23 an hour on this card, and that doesn't account for any expenses on your end. That's not very great. And like I said, this is not some easy kind of work, right? This isn't some run-of-the-mill commission for a lot of these hard-working artists and illustrators. There are style guides they need to adhere to. There are characters established with deep lore, and especially with Magic doing all their brand partnerships, these guys have to be lore accurate. There's going to be a lot of eyes course correcting and adjusting and giving you feedback in this process. It's very intensive, and you have to be very highly skilled to make it as a Magic the Gathering illustrator. And for them to sit there and pay you very minimal for all that effort, it's just absolutely terrible. And this is going to lead me to my second topic. Wizards has recently begun to deny access to artists to selling their art on these secondary markets. Historically, Magic artists could supplement income through secondary markets, right? Selling their original artwork, their artist proof, their prints to fans, right? This has become a critical income source for these artists, especially considering how low the base pay on these initial commissions are. The private secondary original art market for Magic the Gathering has really seen tremendous growth over the last 2 decades. Artists back in the 90s, they were practically giving away Magic art, back in the day for like a couple $100s. Now, full finished card art originals can sell anywhere from $2,000 to over $10,000 per card, with sketches selling hundreds of dollars a piece. I've seen it personally in these auction groups that are sometimes held on Facebook. Like, the bidding goes up and it goes up fast. This becomes increasingly more problematic in their newer sets, right? Recently, Magic the Gathering has sets like Universes Beyond that absolutely prohibit artists from selling and creating any kind of physical artwork, including original pieces, prints, or playmats, right? All commissioned art must be digital. They're forcing artists now that have traditionally done this for decades to be digital artists, essentially. So not only are many artists forced to work digitally or not work at all from them, but they can't sell in any kind of second market their artists. These are the terms and conditions that Wizards of the Coast wants to put on us now. And so by implementing so many of these new restrictions in their contract terms, it seems like Wizards is very intent on dismantling this whole artist secondary market situation. And all of this, of course, is what led to Donato getting really upset and making that post that I read. He said he just needed 7 specific words to be in the contract for him to continue to working for them, which he was doing, like I said, as a favor, because he had a lot of friends in the art direction, a lot of friends at Wizards of the Coast. He was basically working for them as a favor, and essentially he just needed his contract to state these very specific terms, and that is the artist owns the physical original art. And he said the contract simply held lots of loopholes, contradicting the statement, which allowed Marvel to claim ownership over all the art at any given time. And he was simply just asking for them what they were stating, or what they seemingly okayed to him in their email correspondence. Nothing more, and they refused to make that change. So he refused to sign that contract moving forward. What also got him really upset was there was further unauthorized use of his artwork found in their own internal style guide. So the fact that Wizards took his art, even though he clearly declined wanting to work with them on this particular project, they didn't compensate him, they didn't ask for his permission, and they started circulating and printing his artwork internally around their company, is absolutely unforgivable. And he even says, this is the most professional insult I have been subjected to in his 32 years of working as an illustrator. And this is all to lead to the question of, why? Why is Wizards doing any of this? The aftermarket doesn't impact the initial game and the product sales to the millions and millions of players worldwide, across the 10 languages that it's in. And on the contrary, it enhances the game by fostering player engagement with artists at events, right? It enables the collection and signing of cards. It's a great way of showcasing all of this original artwork, and it's basically free marketing for the game. And even providing exclusive artwork for players as prizes, creating an excitement and a sense of community. There is no negatives here. And on top of that, it is a great incentive for the artists to work even harder. Because even though they're getting a low base pay, if they know they could sell it on the secondhand market and and recoup a lot of that cost and effort, they're going to put more time and commitment and passion and dedication into painting that, because they want it to be the best they can be, because Magic is certainly not paying them the best they can be. So it's clear to me, with this incentive removed by Wizards, artists are going to be less likely to want to put their top effort into working on these projects and in these commissions for them. In a worst case scenario, right, it affects the quality of the artwork overall for the company, and that could even potentially affect future sales. So I don't know why they're doing this. Now, just to clarify, as far as I know, these newer terms are only for their universes beyond sets, right? This is where Magic the Gathering partners with places like Marvel and Final Fantasy and all these other properties as they introduce these characters now into like Magic playing cards. And that's somewhat understandable because there's a lot of legality and rights and basically a lot of paperwork to kind of sort that out. But the fact that they have so many more of these brand deals lined up in future sets, things aren't looking good. And this isn't even to mention anything about AI, which they have got into some scandals with their AI as well. I believe the Hasbro CEO has mentioned publicly that he wants to be all in on AI moving into the future, which again doesn't look great for artists in this kind of community. So is that's what's going to happen here? Basically, digital artists are going to have to outright replace the traditional artists, and then the AI is going to come in and replace the digital artists. It's like Wizards is intentionally cultivating some string of events that's going to weed us out. But yeah, things aren't looking good. For us, I don't think it's looking good on their public reputation, of course. If you're working for a company on a work-for-hire basis, generally, you just got to negotiate the best, highest rate possible to make the most of any additional perks, that they offer, like promotional opportunities. Now, I do feel it's great, when artists can work for a company like Wizards and it gets their name out there. It's a great client, on the resume, of course, to have because they are so big, they are so well known. But at one point, when do we draw the line? Remember, companies operate to make a profit, not to personally invest in you. Your relation with them is fundamentally a transaction. This is a service-based industry at the end of the day. And while it is good to work with companies like this, it is good to get experience, it's just absolutely crap when they treat us with such disrespect. And while it's natural to feel attached to the work or intellectual property that you're contributing to, at the end of the day, it is still just a job. Take these experiences with a grain of salt. Build your reputation, build up your skills, find and showcase your own unique style, and of course, over time, establish your own brand, establish your own projects. I talked about this a lot in the last video. Pete Moorbarker, he quit Magic, I think over 10 years ago, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, I'm out. These prices are ridiculous. And it's important to think, like, even though you're getting a one low base rate for a commission, you're not getting royalties on whether they're using this art for marketing purposes or, digitizing it. Like, you're only getting paid once for this art. As an independent creator, you can make your own print. You could sell it, numerously at conventions and shows and in your own online shop over any period of time, and over time make far more money than the price of that base commission. Don't think you have to rely on a crap company like Wizards of the Coast to be your big break. So don't stop creating. Build your skills, establish yourself, build your own brand, build your own products. It is far more profitable in the long run if that's what you're looking to do with your art and your creativity. Guys, let me know what you think below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter.